All right, welcome back to the Goals.com podcast, where we uncover what drives sales performance at the highest levels. Today, we're joined by Michèle Hecken, founder and CEO of Michèle Hecken Executive Advisory and author of an Amazon best-selling book, The Art of Offboarding. Michèle is a former CEO who built, scaled, and successfully exited a global company, and now helps high-performing leaders design businesses that don't just thrive, but run without them. Her proprietary system, The Art of Offboarding, has helped executives and entrepreneurs around the world create more freedom, more focus, and more growth, but in business and in life. We'll dig into how Michèle's journey from CEO to advisor reshaped her entire view of success. All right, Michèle, are you ready to dig in?
I am. Thank you, Andrew, for having me on the Goals.com podcast. I'm excited for our conversation.
You built and scaled a company over 25 years before successfully exiting, and now you help others do the exact same thing. What was the moment that made you realize you wanted to shift from running a business to reimagining how leaders run their business?
That's a great question, and it's part of the evolution of what I did. So my company was global from day one. It was completely remote in 1993, 94, pre-internet. So nothing about my company and the way I ran it was normal. It wasn't what other entrepreneurs do. We were global. We went across cultures, across time zones, and had a global team in the mid 90s. What happened is I needed to find ways to scale and manage people without micromanaging people because I could not. So it kind of shaped my story. I've done everything differently. I've heard a million times people tell me that's not going to work. And when I eventually sold my business, I had been working 4 to 10 hours a week for the probably past 15 years. And I'm part of a few entrepreneurial groups as well. And so I had people come up to me and say, I want what you have. How did you do that? I am burnt out. I'm overworked. I'm always the bottleneck. Everybody's coming to me with questions and I can't seem to scale up, let alone have the business run without me. So I knew when I sold that I wanted to write a book about it because what I did was so different from anybody else. And I started my company in my early 20s. So everybody thought I had no idea what I was doing, which was partially true, but I made it up as I went along. So when I sold the company, I got a much higher exit value in an all cash deal because the business ran without me. And so there was no earnout, no money left on the table because it was a self-sustaining business. So when people came to me and said, how did you do that? I started writing a book about it, which just came out and just got bestseller that I'm really excited about. But I had entrepreneurs ask me, can you coach me? Can you help me? And so then I'm like, yes, because I see so many people, like so many entrepreneurs around the world, like they're overworked. They're not spending time with their family, they're getting older and it's like, where's my life? And the business dictates their life. And I was a single mom with 2 girls and I was not going to let the business dictate my life. So I built it differently. So now as an advisor, it's really, really fun because I can, just open my Pandora's box or what I say, have like a shelf, like a grocery store behind me, and I can pull from so many experiences to help other entrepreneurs do this. And having a system that's easy it's something completely different. Instead of having one thing where your heart is, now you're helping so many different entrepreneurs on their journey, and that feels really fulfilling.
I love it, and I can relate to a lot of those challenges that you mentioned. You've said that after your exit, you realized your superpower was building businesses that could run without you. What did that realization teach you about leadership and control and trust?
That is a great question. So because I ran it that way for 15 years, when I started coaching entrepreneurs and hearing some of the ways they were stuck, and I'm going to focus on the second word you said, which is control, right? Leaders are afraid to give up control. And it makes sense because at the beginning, we're building our companies, we know everything about them. And then when you get to that next step, it's really hard to let go of control. So your question is, what does it teach me about leadership? I would say the number one biggest thing that my journey and working with other entrepreneurs has taught me is that you have to trust and you have to build trust. Um, and I also learned that a lot of leadership models that helped me grow, that taught me, are now becoming a little outdated. And it's so important that we adapt our leadership today with Gen Z and then Gen Alpha coming. It is shifting. And what I'm hearing a lot is that you can't trust people. So I feel like there's more control being exerted with this generation coming up. Less control would be better. So leadership adapts with the times. Not everything that worked 10 or 20 years ago will still work today. And the biggest lesson is leadership is always growth and learning, but not just from books, but looking around you. What do people need? Having conversations with them, actually asking them instead of assuming. So it's really, I'm a big fan of connected leadership. Not doing the same thing, but connecting and understanding and coaching in leadership.
The art of offboarding is such a fascinating concept. For listeners new to it, how do you define it, and why do you think so many high-performing leaders struggle to embrace it?
So the reason I came up and named it the art of offboarding, it is basically strategic delegation. But I come from the language industry. And as entrepreneurs, we're always told we got to work on our business, not in it. And as a consequence, we're told to delegate. Just delegate, 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 and then your business will run without you. That, however, is not true. So I needed a new name for my concept. And here's why it's not true. When we delegate, we often delegate reactively. So we're not looking at the goals. We're not looking at the KPIs. We're just looking at our desk. And typically as entrepreneurs, we've said yes to too many things, or we're trying to go too fast or faster than, we can physically do it. We end up with so many things. And then it's stress, it's overload, it's procrastination. And eventually we get to the point, it's like, okay, what can I delegate? I need to get stuff off my desk. So then we do that. Feels great. And then we do it again and again. And eventually we wake up in the middle of the night trying to remember who we gave what to, with which deadline and which outcome. We've all done it. I've done it. And the reason why that doesn't work is because we're mainly delegating tasks from reactionary mode. So the art of offboarding looks at that whole concept of working on your business in a different way, from the top, from the leader, being clear what's on your plate. Why is it on your plate? Because that's something we often don't ask, right? Because a lot of us have shiny syndrome and we add a bunch of stuff and it's not related to any goals. But so it's really strategically looking at, what do I love doing? What am I really great at? And what drains my energy that somebody could do better than me, right? So it's proactive strategic delegation on purpose, with the person you're delegating to owning the outcome. And it's very different from traditional delegation, because we just give people things. They don't own the outcome. I'm still responsible, right? And it's not just leaders that do it. I see it in teams all the time as well. It's like, we're just going to split this project up and you're going to do a part and I'm going to do a part, but I'm going to own it. That causes stress for everybody. Ownership is important. And that's why I came up with a different name for it, coming from the language industry, because offboarding is typically firing somebody and letting somebody go. It's a euphemism, but it's also about firing yourself from the things that don't serve your goals, don't serve your business, and don't serve you or your cash flow or your profit. You need to get rid of those things on purpose, proactively. And that's the big difference.
I love it, sort of getting out of your own way.
Correct. And, also showing from a mindset perspective how to build that trust, right? Because a lot of times as entrepreneurs or leaders, we're mole whacking, right? Somebody comes to us and it's like, what do I do with this? This happened. Oh my God, what do I do now? And what do we most often do as leaders? We give them the solution. Or we say, oh, let me help you with this. It's like, oh no, this is terrible. Let me take this on, right? Or we say, oh, that's okay. Do this, 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 and that. Boom. Great. Nobody learns, okay, when we do that. Nobody learns. And what happens is, for the leader, now the leader feels like that employee didn't know what to do. Well, that sucks. Now I trust that person less, right? Even though we say, come to me with all the questions, it's still human psychology. If somebody comes with questions all the time or problems, worse, questions is okay, right? Instead of looking at it as an opportunity for coaching and up leveling our team, we answer the question and then the learning moment is gone. And then the next time they're going to have to ask again, and it undermines trust, right? So a better way to do that is to say, what are your ideas for this solution? Right. After a while, my team knew, because I was also bad at it. Of course, we're all human. It feels good to know the answer, right? It's like, I know, I'll fix it. Makes us feel important, and it's still my company. It feels great, but doesn't help anybody. Right. So I just said, come with 2 or 3 solutions from different angles with your preferred one, and be prepared to explain why. Then if I disagree, now we can talk about it and I can explain my idea, my option. So first of all, I get to know how they think. That builds trust, right? Or not. I mean, if all the ideas are really ridiculous, then you also learn something, but typically it builds trust. And then sharing your thoughts creates learning. So the next time they're going to maybe add that other filter, and that's a different way of growing your team and just kind of bringing it so that you're not dependent on being there and making people stuck.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. You built a methodology where leaders spend 80% of their time doing what they love. What does it actually take, practically and mentally, for someone to get to that point?
The very first thing it actually takes is being aware of what you're doing and why. I have yet to see an entrepreneur CEO, a founder, who has a job description. I have never in my, right, because we don't. Right? Because we make it up as we go along. That's what makes us entrepreneurs. And we don't want a job description, right? But what happens is then we get burnt out and overworked doing all the things I just described, delegating, trying to remember who we gave something to, not really trusting the team, being the go-to person for all decisions and all answers, carrying all responsibility. And we don't know why we're burnt out. Like the first session I do with clients is always like, hey, well, what is on your plate? Let's take a look. It's like, oh, well, this and this and this. Okay, write it down. So we're actually now building an app for that. That makes it easier. But the process is just write down everything that you do. And this is something that your listeners can do at home right away if there's any entrepreneurs here. Very simple exercise. Take a piece of paper, write down everything that you do. Everything. Okay. In sales, in marketing, in HR, in finance. Look at your calendar, look at your to-do list if you have one. I hope you don't. I hope you put everything in your calendar because that's way better. But look at it and just dump it. Just dump it. And then just go through it with a highlighter and highlight everything you love doing in one color and highlight everything that you really loathe doing in the other color. The ones that drain your energy. And we know what they are. Like we procrastinate on things. We're like dreading things. Things take long or we're not sure how to do them. So many entrepreneurs doing finance and it takes them 5 times as long as somebody who actually is looking at the numbers differently, right? So once you know that, then we can look at saying, what's the value? Like, which of this is even tied to our goals? And usually when I work with entrepreneurs, I can cut out at least 5 hours a week, every week, just with that exercise alone, because there's at least 5 hours of stuff that goes away when you realize that you don't need to do it anymore.
I love that. When you step into an organization that's burning out its leadership team, what are the biggest early warning signs that they built success at the expense of sustainability?
People are burnt out, number one, but that's a symptom, but it usually shows up with other symptoms. Dysfunctions in the team, right? Meaning disagreements in the leadership team. Mainly for the entrepreneur, it shows up as frustration and trust issues with their team. Even if they have an amazing team, it's because they feel like they can't rely on that team. And that's why we built a team in the first place, right? But if we don't set them up for success, we can't rely on them. So that's the biggest thing that shows up. And then, of course, it causes burnout. But that frustration is a symptom of a bigger problem. People aren't clear where we're going, why, how fast, and what am I absolutely responsible for. And if we can clarify those things, a lot of stress and burnout falls away, even within the teams.
You've worked with entrepreneurs from startups to Fortune 500s. What's one universal leadership mistake you see across all levels, and how do you help leaders correct it?
I think delegation in the old sense of the word, like the reactive delegation, the always being behind the eight ball, I think is one thing that really stands out. And the other thing is a misinterpretation of servant leadership. What do I mean by that? I'm a big fan of servant leadership. Absolutely. Servant leadership is essential. And for me, it's coaching and working in your superpower and doing what you're best at and making the best possible contribution to your company and your team as a leader. What it doesn't mean is doing the same thing as everybody else. And that's what I see a lot where leaders are feeling guilty. It's the guilt for doing what they're supposed to be doing, but they're not working as hard on tedious things, right? That they don't enjoy and they're not good at anyways, for the most part. Let's be honest, right? Give me a detailed spreadsheet. I'll like, oh my God, no, I'm sick for the next 3 weeks. Like, it's just not going to happen. Right. So when I see somebody working on that, there's always a little bit of guilt. It's like, oh, they're doing all this stuff that I don't like to do. But the truth is, if somebody in my office had to go on a podcast or stand in front of 1,000 people and hold a talk, they would rather do a million spreadsheets because guess what? They actually like doing that. And that's why it's so important to discover what are you great at? What do you love doing? And what do you not, right? Because it's different for everybody else. So to summarize your question, it's control, guilt, and just a misinterpretation of what their role is supposed to look like for success for them and their teams.
Yeah, it makes sense. There's often a fear among leaders of, letting go and what letting go means, losing control. How do you help executives reframe that mindset into something empowering instead of something that's threatening?
Yeah, it takes some time. First of all, it takes a willingness for somebody to change their mindset, right? Because you can only lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink. And if somebody doesn't want to let go, it's very hard. But we start with, excuse me, really the what are the symptoms? And what we do is instead of just fixing the symptoms, which is what I see all the time, we actually peel them back and say, okay, what is the root cause of this? Right. And a lot of times it's fear, and it's a fear mindset. When we're trying to control anything, our drivers fear. So fear of missing deadlines, fear of people not doing their job right? Fear of, oh, I'm not in the office. What are people going to think? Right? It's fear. So when we're more fearful, and that often happens in stages of high growth, right? It's chaos everywhere. It's not how we're used to it. And then it's hard to control. And a lot of entrepreneurs, especially in that big growth spurt, will go back and give up because it's too much to bear of everything that can go wrong. So I work with them on the fear. What's the worst case scenario? Kind of try and get them over that fear and the mindset belief that servant leadership is doing the same as everybody else, right? But control always comes from fear. So the question is, you can't just say, let go of control. The question is, what exactly are you trying to control and why? And then we peel back the layers. Often it's trust. I don't know if my people will do it. And then we'll go, it's like, okay, have you given them responsibility? No, because I don't trust them. Well, you cannot build trust without giving somebody a challenge. So it can be a small responsibility. So part of it is mindset, and part of it is small practical applications that have very little risk for the company. Like kind of building that muscle a little bit, just trying it a little bit and trusting that, okay, I was able to offboard this small thing first. Well, that went well. Okay, now I have a system where I get feedback, because that's the third thing with control, the mindset, the training the muscle with small little steps first, and systems. If you don't have systems where you can see with your morning coffee exactly what's going on, or at least once a week, you're going to feel the need to exert more control. If you have reliable systems where you can see what's going on and you can see any red flag right away, there's not that much to control anymore. So it's those few things: mindset, fear, and practicing that muscle, and systems.
Boy, a lot of those points really spoke to me.
One of my biggest value is freedom, and not just for the entrepreneur, but people in your business.
Mhm.
Your teams feel freer too when the boss isn't breathing that down their neck with every single project that, the boss is responsible for. Freedom is having ownership as well.
So that's how you define. I was just going to ask you, how do you define freedom as a leader today? And how did that definition change from your early years as a CEO?
What do I answer first? So freedom. I think freedom is a bit of a definition for everybody themselves, and it has shifted. Of course, like when I was younger, building the company, I thought having a lot of money would be freedom. But I learned very early on that for me personally, yes, the money, yes, freedom, amazing. And I'm going to comment on that in a second. To me, freedom was being able to run a business without sacrificing my family, which I wouldn't have done. Freedom was to be able to be there for my kids, be a good mom, have time to spend with them. Hopefully, I was a good mom, I guess, we'll see. But my kids turned out great, so I'm going to go with yes on that one. I'm a nana now. I have a 2-year-old grandbaby, so
Congratulations.
looks like I didn't do too badly, but it's that freedom to choose. I think that's my definition, is freedom to choose and not have to say no to things that are really important to you. So for me, to have the business and also be able to be present with my family a lot, right? The money part, of course, that brings more freedom simply because it brings you more choice. But the freedom to me is understanding what's important to me and what I value, and then building a life where I can spend time doing that, and that I always have choices to change my mind, choices to sell my company, choices to start a whole different career path, right? That is to me freedom to move, to do what I want, when I want, where I want, with whom I want, and for how long I want.
That
So
sounds nice.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I have to honestly say I am now at that stage in my life where I have all of those things. And obviously there were many stages where I didn't. And I'll tell you, it's actually kind of funny. While I love it, I have to, one, pinch myself, but two, so much freedom of choice makes it harder to choose. So that's, a different dilemma that comes with that.
It's like trying to find something to watch at night nowadays on all of the streaming.
Yes. It's
It's
like
like
that.
I can't find
It's like
anything to
that.
watch even though I have thousands of choices.
That is a great analogy. It's like that. Sometimes you sit there for an hour and you haven't watched anything. It's like, "Okay, I'm going to bed now." It's like that. Yeah. Do I move here or do I move there? Or where do I want to live? Or what do I want to do next? And I see that with a lot of entrepreneurs that are exiting. Like, I'm not an exit consultant, but I do work with entrepreneurs that are looking to exit alongside exit consultants, because my methodology just works really well for the goal that the consultant and the client are trying to achieve. And it's a common thing. Once you sell your company, you're like, okay, who am I now? What do I do? You have to redefine yourselves. Not everybody's biggest value is freedom either.
Yeah, I bet. Your new book, The Art of Offboarding, just became an Amazon bestseller,
Yes,
which
it
is
did.
incredible, by the way.
On
What's one
Wednesday. On
that's
Wednesday. This one doesn't have the bestseller sticker on it yet, but I'm very excited.
that's insane. That's awesome. What's one core idea from the book you hope every reader takes away and actually implements?
It's hard to pinpoint that, because depending on where people are in the stage of their business and what challenge they're trying to solve, it's going to be a little bit different. But I think the number one that applies to everybody is, you didn't start your business to be a slave to it. You started your business to create freedom and wealth and solve a problem and help other people in their lives, whatever it is that you're doing, add value, right? And you did that from realizing who you were before you had a business. And so the number one thing that I really want people to take away from this is your life. You can build one business. You said you have 2 businesses. Some people have 10 or more, right? You can always build another business, but you can never get another life. And that takeaway, I think, is the most important one. It's like, don't, after a certain point when you've realized your idea and you've built this, I see it so often that the business then starts running your life. And that's not why you built it. So the number one takeaway is like, stay true to you. Know where your North Star is. Build the business to suit what you want. Maybe you want to build $1 billion business. Maybe you want to build a $5 or $10 million business and, do it differently. It doesn't matter. What matters is what you want in your life and have your business serve you. I think that's the number one takeaway that I would want people to know.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. And again, congratulations on the Amazon bestseller list. Not too many people can say they've earned that achievement. That's incredible.
It really is. And I'm still kind of reeling because when I went to bed on launch day, it wasn't there yet. And I just went to bed. It's like, okay, whatever. It's fine. I wrote the book. I'm happy. It's all good. I'm helping people. And then when I woke up the next morning, it was bestseller in 3 categories. And I'm like, this is unreal. So this was only like, whatever, last week, right? So I'm still like kind of reeling from it. It's pretty cool.
Cool. Super cool. For leaders listening who feel trapped in the daily grind, what's the first small step they can take this week to start offboarding themselves and creating more space to lead and to live better?
I'm going to repeat what I said, but in summary. Number 1, just take a moment and see, does the business serve my life in the way that I want it to? Go revisit back. And it's also one of the first things I do with clients. That's what we start with. What do you want? What does your life look like 10 years from now? Not 5 years, because 5 years our entrepreneurial brain goes into SMART goals and all of that. So the first thing your listeners can do is pretend they're a kid. Like if nothing was impossible and you couldn't fail, what would you want to do, no matter how ridiculous it is? And it kind of gets the juices flowing. Then what do you want your life to look like in 10 years? Who do you want to be? How do you want to be acting? How do you want to be showing up? Do you want to be showing up burnt out, tired, not making time for soccer practice or whatever is happening because there's always something else burning in the business? Is that your 5-year vision? Is that your 10-year vision? So get clear on what you want that to look like. Then look at how is your business? Is your business serving that or is it preventing that? So that's the biggest question. And then look at everything that's on your plate. Like I said earlier, just dump it all because most of us entrepreneurs do not have a job description and we can't see clearly, right? Awareness leads to choice. But if your only awareness is being stuck in, I'm overwhelmed, I'm burnt out, there's nothing I can do, then that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So think about how your business serves you and how it's aligned with what you want in your life, and write down everything that you're doing and think about, what do I still need? What do I love? What doesn't need to be done anymore? Because maybe it was important 5 years ago when you were building the company, but it's just now a habit. And what can you offboard as a full responsibility to somebody else? But write this week, today, get clear on your goals, write down what's on your plate.
I love it. It's a fantastic message. Personally, have lots of takeaways from this conversation.
Well, I hope you do it. You can send it to me after if you want.
All right, folks, it's been excellent spending time with Michèle Hecken, founder and CEO of Michèle Hecken Executive Advisory and author of the best-selling books on Amazon, The Art of Offboarding. Michèle is helping
leaders. The only
leaders.
best-selling book.
The only best-selling book.
Sorry, I love
Michèle is helping leaders all over the world reimagine what success looks like, not by doing more, but by creating organizations that run with freedom, structure, and joy. If you're ready to lead differently, grab a copy of The Art of Offboarding or connect with Michèle on LinkedIn to learn more about her work. Thanks for tuning in to the Goals.com podcast, where we explore what drives high performance in leadership and sales. Be sure to subscribe and share this episode with a fellow leader ready to design a business and a life they love. Until next time, keep setting goals and keep crushing them. Thanks again, Michèle.
This episode is brought to you by Goals.com, the sales performance platform built to help teams stay focused, motivated, and on track. While most CRMs just track data, Goals.com drives real results. It's simple, affordable, and designed to help your sales team hit targets faster, without the headache of complex setup or costly consultants. Whether you're using a CRM or not, Goals.com works seamlessly to elevate your performance. Book a fun, fast demo today at Goals.com.